Hello, welcome back to Joy Sightings, and this is edition number 40. Today I'm going to again be reading to you from The Wit and Wisdom of Safed the Sage. The book The Wit and Wisdom of Safed the Sage is available on the internet if you search for it. You can find it at the Library of Congress and also at our website, dailybiblereading.info. Our chapters for today are The Coffee and the Doughnut, Having Enough, and The Bad Boy. The Coffee and the Doughnut. In this parable, Safed uses the word sinkers, which is slang for doughnuts. Keturah saved a little mess of fat without profaning any of the ordinances of Mr. Hoover, and she made doughnuts. And she gave them to me at breakfast, and she said, "Make much of them, for I know not when there will be more." And I said, "Unto him that hath for his breakfast coffee and sinkers, sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof." And as I was eating of the doughnuts, Keturah said, "My lord, all my married life I have endeavored to teach thee not to dip thy doughnut in thy coffee, and thou doest it still, yea, and every one of thy sons doeth it also, and he hath learned it from thee, and the same is not permitted in polite society." And I said, "O thou fairest of women, and at times the most unreasonable, why wilt thou mar a sufficiently satisfactory husband with overmuch of perfectness? I neither drink, nor swear, nor smoke, nor chew, and heaven is my home. I covet no other man's wife, though I wish that thou hadst been born twins, that I might marry thee both. Thou well mightest tremble at thy husband's approach to faultlessness." And Keturah answered, "I have noticed no approach either to the faultlessness or to the trembling." And I said, "Then pay thou the more strict notice, for it were not well for thee that thy husband should be an overgrown Fauntleroy. I know a machinist who declareth that the ideally perfect machine would not run, but must have a saving element of ramshackleness. Therefore must the great drive wheels of the locomotive be geared to an eccentric. Behold now this doughnut, that it doth attain to perfection by having in its center an hole. Wherefore be glad that thy husband hath the saving merit of a few small faults." And she said, "My lord, I took thee for better and for worse. If then thou must dip thy doughnut in thy coffee, I will make the best of it." Having enough. There spake to me a man who said, "My income is not enough." And I said, "Thou art a fortunate man." And he said, "Why dost thou say so?" And I said, "Because thou hast the choice either of earning more or spending less, and when there be two ways of solving a problem, a man is fortunate. Whereas I know a poor man who owneth a railroad, and earnestly coveteth another. He is poor, for he cannot get it." And he said, "When I was a lad, I drove my father's cow to an hired pasture, for we lived in a little town. And other men in the same town besought me to drive their cows, and they gave me every one of them 10 cents a week. And their cows were 5. And I thought, how happy I should be if there were 10 cows, and I could earn every week an whole $1. And when I became older, of about the age of 14, then did I hire myself in the springtime to a farmer to plant potatoes. And we cut the seed potatoes so that on every piece there were 2 eyes, and we planted 40 acres of them. And we dropped the potatoes where the marker had crossed the soft furrow, 1 potato for every step as we walked, and with the eyes up. And we stepped on each potato as we walked to press it firmly into the soft earth. And I worked for him 11 days and received $5 and the half of a dollar. And I reflected that if potato planting could last all summer, then might I earn $13 every month. And the year I was 17, I hired myself to an husbandman from the 18th day of the 6th month to the 1st day of the 11th month for $80, which was almost $16 a month. And when the 11th month came, I drew my money and bought me a new suit of clothes with a pair of gorgeous suspenders and a beautiful necktie. Yea, and a wondrous overcoat, and a pair of dog-skin gloves, which I called Kid. And I had $47 left, and it was too much to trust to any one bank, lest it break. And I said to him, What is thine income now? And he said, The government of the United States hath lately asked me the same question, and when I told them, they struck me for a sum that made mine hair stand on end. I knew not till then how poor is the man who is as rich as I. And I said, The Holy Scriptures call down a blessing on the man who considereth the poor. I will bless also the man who, however poor he is, considereth himself rich. For thou wast rich when thou dravest cows to pasture, and hast been rich ever since, if thy mind hath been at peace with God and man, and thou hast had enough to pay thine honest debts. And I spake to him this proverb of the men of Arabia, Who is richer, he that hath $1,000,000, or he that hath 7 daughters? And he said, Tell me the answer. And I said, The man who hath 7 daughters is the richer, for he hath enough, and he knoweth it. The Bad Boy. There came to me a mother, and she said, O Sophed, thou great and wise man, have pity on thine handmaid, for I am in sorrow. Thou knowest my boy, he is 14 years old. When he was a baby, he was the cutest little thing thou didst ever see. And I said, I remember. And she said, And when he was a little boy, he was lovely. And I said, Thou speakest truly. And she said, But now I hardly know him. He is noisy and rude and inattentive and heedless. And he learneth not his lessons. And when I reprove him, he laugheth and saith, I should worry. Tell me, O Sophed, what shall I do? And I said, Worry not. And she said, I cannot help it. Was there ever such a boy? And I said, George Washington, when he was 14, did not always wash himself behind his ears. And Julius Caesar, when he was 14, was not always reverent in Sunday school. And William Shakespeare, when he was 14, got excused from his work to attend the funeral of his grandmother, and on that day he watched a ball game. And Simon Peter, when he was 14, was one day absent from school on account of a serious illness, but recovered sufficiently to watch the bobbing of a cork upon the water of a little creek that runneth into the Sea of Galilee, hard by Capernaum. And she said, Do the books tell of that? And I said, Nay, but I know that it is so, for I know boys. And she said, O Sophed, it doeth me great good to hear thee, and it restoreth my faith in my boy. And she rose to go, but she turned back, and she said, O Sophed, when thou wast 14, what kind of a boy wast thou? And I said, If I tell thee that I was a model, thou wilt be sorry to think that I was not like other boys. And if I tell thee that I was like other boys, thou wilt think I was not a model. But if I tell thee not, then canst thou have the joy of thinking either of those things, or both. So I bade her salam, and she went out. And it was lucky for me that she did not ask Keturah.